So I have the one mac and cheese that was in the aluminum foil pan in the oven at 350. The recipe called for 3/4 to 1 cup of panko breadcrumbs. So I used pretty close to a cup, covered it all, with the breadcrumbs and put it in the oven. I set it for 30 minutes. I couldn't still find the recipe that I was basing this on, so I'm gonna check it after 30 minutes and see how it looks. And I just talked to my husband. He is almost home, so he's gonna stop and get us some lunch, so I think that will help. So while that's in the oven, I washed up all of my big dishes. The dishwasher is just about done running, so I'm going to start peeling my sweet potatoes and get those ready. I've got 3 big sweet potatoes here. This is probably more than I need, considering the people who eat sweet potatoes. I think I might just do 2. I did buy some extra sweet potatoes yesterday. They were, of course, on sale, and I'm going to prep those and can them after the holiday. So I think I'm just going to do 2, and then I'll just add this third one to the ones that I'm going to can. So now I'm just going to cut these in, I don't know, 1/4 inch, that might be more than 1/4 inch, a little more than 1/4 inch slices. And then I'm going to boil them, and when they cool, I'm just going to stick them in the fridge. And tomorrow, I will fry them up in butter and brown sugar. So I'm going to put this pot of sweet potatoes on the stove and let these boil until they are soft. The 30 minutes is almost up on the mac and cheese. I just took a quick peek at it, and I don't think it's quite done. The panko breadcrumbs look like they need to be a little more brown. So I'll probably add a few more minutes to that when the timer goes off. So I'm not sure if my oven doesn't sit level, or if it just has hot spots. The back side of the pan was more brown than the front, so I turned the pan around, and I'm gonna give it 5 more minutes. All right, so here is that pan of mac and cheese that I cooked today. When this is all cool, I'll wrap it up and stick it in the fridge, and we'll use this as leftovers. I did end up putting the breadcrumbs on top of the one that I'm gonna cook tomorrow. Mostly just because I was going to wrap it in foil, and I didn't want to pull any of the mac and cheese out with the foil. This way, if it pulls some of the breadcrumbs off, I can just add more. So I'm going to let this cool. The sweet potatoes are done. I've got these in a little plastic container. When they're cool, I'll put the lid on and stick those in the fridge for tomorrow. All right, so I'm going to make a white chocolate kind of cream pie. So I just have a store-bought graham cracker crust, and I've got a white chocolate pudding and a cheesecake pudding, and I'm actually going to make both of those, just mix them together. In fact, I haven't made pudding for a long time. Where are the instructions? Oh, here we go. Okay, so we need 2 cups of cold milk for each of these boxes. So I need 4 cups of milk. All right, so there's 2 cups. I'm glad I bought more milk because I've just about used all of it. All of this container, I guess I should say. Okay, stick this back in the fridge, and then I'm gonna get a whisk and mix that up. And then, before I put this in the pie, before I put this mixture in the pie shell, I'm also going to fold in some just Cool Whip into this pudding mixture to kind of give it more of a fluffy texture. I may have to get the mixer to get the whipped cream in. All right, so I did go ahead and just get my hand mixer out. All right, I should have gotten this out of the freezer earlier because it's probably gonna still be a little bit too frozen. Oh, it's not too bad. All right, so I'm gonna put, you can't have whipped cream, puppy. So I've got about 2/3 or 3/4. I'm gonna mix that in and see what I can. Go ahead and add the rest of that in there. Whoops. Alrighty, so I've got that all mixed up. Whoops. And I am just going to, drip it everywhere. So I'm just going to pour this then into my graham cracker shell. And I might have too much. I don't always use 2 boxes of pudding. I usually just use 1. So I'm just going to put this in a little bowl and we'll just eat it later. I know that hurts your feelings a lot. I've got some extra. I'm just going to put it in a bowl and we'll stick that in the fridge, and then my husband and I can eat that later tonight if you want. It doesn't have the graham cracker crust, but that's okay. The filling is delicious. And that'll help that finish setting up once we get that in the fridge. So can I put this on this way? Oh, I can. All right. So I'm going to put this plastic lid back on, except upside down, so that nothing falls in this. And then I'm going to stick this in the fridge. Now I'm going to go ahead and start working on what the heck is that? Now I'm going to go ahead and start working on my just regular potatoes so I can get my mashed potatoes going. Okay, so I have 10 pounds of potatoes here, so I'm going to get busy peeling those. This peeler is very weird. It's like you have to peel backwards from what I'm used to, so I'm struggling just a little bit. So it works great on the long pieces of the potato, but not so well on the ends. And in the past, my daughter has always peeled the potatoes with me, or sometimes for me. She loves to peel potatoes. But she moved out about a month ago and in with her brother, which they're not that far away, but she also had to work today, so I have to peel my own potatoes this year, and probably every year from now. Oh. This peeler is part of the, all right, where did that potato go? This peeler is part of the set of ceramic knives that my dad gave me, so they're super sharp and I don't want to cut my fingers. All right, so I've got that whole 10 pounds cut up. I've got that 10 pounds of potatoes peeled. And I'm just going to cut them in chunks. And I'm going to put them in my big pot here. And then I'm going to rinse them off. And then fill it with water and let them boil. 10 pounds of potatoes is probably more than we need for the number of people that are coming. But then if anybody wants to take leftovers, there's leftovers. And I like to have leftover potatoes too. Whatever we don't eat over, throughout the weekend, I'll freeze them and then I can use them to make mashed potato patties. All right, I'm gonna rinse these off. Oh my goodness. Alright, so I rinsed those off and filled that pot up with some hot water, and I've got them on the stove. So I'm going to reuse my potato bag here to put my peels in so I can take these out to my compost. Alright, I have 2 of these egg plates. At the moment I can find one, which seems to be typical for today. So hopefully I can find the other one. So while my potatoes are cooking, I'm going to go ahead and mix up my green bean casserole. Alright, so I've got some green beans, home canned green beans from from the last year that we lived in our old house, where we had green beans coming out our ears. I'm going to go ahead and drain these. 1.5 quarts of green beans here. I've got a can of cream of chicken soup. If this isn't enough, I can add one of the cream of celeries. Yeah, I think we need one more can, so I'll get a can of the cream of celery. And I've got my fried onions here, and I like to go ahead and stir some into the green beans as well as topping them. So there we go. I've got that all stirred up. I'm gonna wait and put those on right before I put them in the oven so that they don't get soggy. Then I'm just gonna stick that in the fridge. All right, so potatoes are I'm still waiting for them to come to a boil. So I'm gonna go get some eggs so that I can start those boiling for our deviled eggs. So I went down and got some of our oldest eggs. So I'm going to boil 2 dozen. That will give us 48 eggs, except I always ruin some. This way everybody gets eggs, there's leftovers, everybody's happy. So I think our chickens are done laying for the season. We haven't gotten an egg since last Friday, and today is Wednesday. So I think we're about done, but excuse me. We had a couple weeks ago, I think we had 8 60-count boxes in our refrigerators downstairs. Now we've used some, I've given some to my dad, so we don't have that many anymore, but those will last us quite a while. I'm using our oldest eggs because obviously they're our oldest eggs, we want to use those first, but also they'll peel much better being the older eggs. I put about, I don't know, a couple tablespoons of, in this many eggs, a couple tablespoons of baking soda. And I'm going to go ahead and fill up my container or spill it on the counter, whichever. I seem to be really good at spilling things today. But this is the one, this little container is the one that I normally use out of, and it was empty. So when I do my hard-boiled eggs, I put cold water in and I let them slowly warm up and come to a boil, and then I start my timer for about 12 minutes. That way, at least in my experience, they've been less likely to crack. I don't know if you guys have any tips for the best way to do hard-boiled eggs. This tip about baking soda in the water came to me from a lady that I used to work with, and so far it seems to have helped. So the potatoes are starting to boil. I just put the eggs on the stove. So now I don't want to start anything new until some of this is done. So now we just have a break. So the potatoes are almost done. But I remembered that I was going to make some little cookies. So I always make just some sugar cookies to have on Thanksgiving. I know we've got a ton of stuff, but I always do it. And I usually roll them out and make like leaf shapes, but you know, as I said before, I can't find all of my whole cookie cutters. So I'm just going to cut slices, and then when I frost them, I'll just frost them different colors. So my phone rang earlier and I missed a couple pieces of my video. So you don't get a chance to see where I put the mashed potatoes together. Masha is nice because, like some of the higher end immersion blenders, it just comes apart, and then I can just wash all of these pieces. The little spinny part inside here comes out. You can wash it all up, get it all nice and clean, and then just wipe this piece with a damp cloth if you need to, which I've got potatoes on the cord, so I'll have to wipe that up. So I forgot that the reason I had liquid in that pink bowl in my refrigerator, in my sink, was because I was saving some of the potato water to put in my gravy, and I just ran soapy water in it. So no potato water for the gravy. That's all right. Honestly, I usually don't even remember to save it, at least even at the beginning. So potatoes are ready to go in the refrigerator. Maybe. All right. And I might have to take these downstairs. So I just put the cookies in the oven, set the timer for 10 minutes, and then I'll check those. Since my oven does tend to run a little hot, at least I feel like it does, I don't want to burn them. While the eggs come to a boil and cook, I'm going to go ahead and clean up some of this mess that I just made in the kitchen so that I have the dishes I need for the next step. Okay, so the cookies are almost done. I'm going to get this cranberry sauce started. So I need 2/3 of a cup of honey. I might have to microwave this a little bit more because I can only get 1/3 out. So we're going to add 2/3 cup of honey once I can get it out of the jar. 1/4 cup of water. I guess I'll wait since I need that measuring cup. Let's try this again. All right, so 2/3 of a cup of honey. So finally, we have 2/3 of a cup of honey, 1/4 of a cup of water, 1/4 of a cup of orange juice, and the recipe actually says use a large orange and use the zest. I don't have any oranges, so I'm just going to use the orange juice. I thought I read cinnamon, and it was cinnamon stick. Then we need 1 cinnamon stick. Okay, so the honey is melted, so I'm going to go ahead and add, I'm adding a 12-ounce bag of cranberries. I have these frozen, but they could be fresh. And then once it's at a boil, we want to turn it down enough where it's still boiling, but isn't boiling over, and we want to let it cook about 10 minutes. Our cranberries are going to burst, and then it's going to start thickening up. And just before we're ready to take it off the stove, we'll give it a taste and see if we need to add any more honey. Our eggs are almost to a boil now. In fact, I'll turn that up just a little bit, and then I'll be able to start my timer, and then we'll be able to get those eggs done as well. So we'll let that keep going. While I was waiting for this to heat up, I wrapped up the mac and cheese that I baked and put it downstairs in our extra refrigerator because the refrigerator here in the kitchen is getting full. And we'll still have, let's see, the eggs, the cranberry sauce, and the gravy will still need to go in the fridge. Some of the stuff might still have to go downstairs. So this is kind of cool to see these bursting. I'm going to pull this up where you can see it. So I don't know if you could hear that one just popped. So it's been about 7 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn that down a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and do a taste and see if I need to add more honey. So let me get one of the spoons that I just washed, because, you know, that's the way I roll. Oh, goodness. Okay. I just want the, okay, ooh. Actually think it could probably use just a little more honey. Okay, so now I need to find the cinnamon stick in here. Somehow. Okay. Ooh, yummy. Okay, so I'm gonna sit this on the back of the stove. We're gonna let that cool. And when it's cool, I'll put it in a container and stick it in the fridge. So while this cools and the eggs finish boiling, I'm going to go ahead and start working on my gravy. So I put 2/3 of a cup of butter in here to start melting. Once the butter is melted, we're going to whisk in 2/3 of a cup of flour. And I'm going to whisk this until it's all incorporated into the butter. And then we're going to let that cook a minute or two. All right, so I'm going to start whisking in this stock. 6 cups of stock. And then another 2 cups of water. I should have used the potato water if I hadn't washed my hands in it. Oh well. Now I'm going to bring this to a boil and then turn it down and let it simmer while it thickens up. So the rolls I got out earlier to start rising look like they are about ready to go in the oven. I'm struggling a little bit to see if they've all risen well enough because, as you know, they were not all the same size. They look like they're ready to go in the oven, so I've just turned the oven back on to preheat and I'll get those rolls in to cook. Okay, so the eggs are done. The gravy timer is just about to go off. So I'm going to set these eggs in the sink and run some cold water on them. We want to add, I'm going to go easy with the salt until I taste it. And then the instructions say use sherry. I don't have any, so I'm just going to use white cooking wine. Couple tablespoons. And a little bit of pepper. Definitely need some more salt. Pepper. Oh, don't want to go too crazy. And I'm actually going to add a little bit more of this cooking wine. All my spoons are either in the dishwasher or on the counter over there. Okay, let's see now. Ooh, yeah. That's so good. Okay, set this over here. Let it cool until I can get it into another container to have in the fridge until tomorrow and when I'm ready to warm it up for dinner. Okay, I don't want to jinx myself, but so far the yolks are coming off. Not the yolks. Oh my goodness, I'm tired. The shell is coming off pretty well without tearing up the yolk or the white. Oh my gosh, you guys, I can't talk anymore. So hopefully I didn't jinx myself. Can I squish these last ones in somehow? That's the question. Let's see here. Oops. I usually put these through the potato ricer before I start mixing them, but I'm just gonna smash them with a fork today. And it will essentially be the same thing. Okay, so I'm gonna add some mayo and some mustard. I usually also add some Miracle Whip. I think I have some in my refrigerator, but I can't find it at the moment with everything else that's in there. So we'll just go with mayo. Do you ever feel like you wash the same dishes over and over and over while you're cooking big meals like this? Okay. So I've got my, let's see here. So I've got my decorator bag, and I'm going to put all of the filling in here. And I just have a plain round open tip in it. So I've just got this round tip in here. And now I'm just going to start filling all of my egg whites. And doing it like this makes it so easy to fill them. You just have to make sure that your filling is pretty smooth. Otherwise it'll gum up the decorator tip. Okay, so I've got all of my eggs filled. They look really pretty. I have probably just a little tiny bit of mixture left in here. I'm gonna fill up a couple of these eggs that are not quite as full.
Come here, it was nice.
Yeah, ice. All right, so we are done with our eggs. Our rolls are all out of the oven. The only thing I have left to do now is frost the cookies. Okay guys, we are done for today. We got all of our pies made. Our mashed potatoes are all ready to be warmed up tomorrow. Our sweet potatoes are ready to be fried. I've got the rolls done. The deviled eggs are done. What else did I do today? Cranberry sauce. I frosted the cookies. I just did a... So I just did some kind of fall colors. Just frosted them. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Where's my list? I did the broccoli rice. We made our gravy. We made our mac and cheese. And we put together our green bean casserole. So tomorrow, just kicked off my slipper. Tomorrow we'll get up bright and early. And by bright and early, I mean still dark. And we'll get our turkey in the oven. And then everything else really will be just warming stuff up, and I won't really have to cook a bunch of things. I'll have to fry the sweet potatoes, but otherwise everything will just be either putting it in the oven or the microwave or just on the stovetop. All right, thanks you guys for spending today with me. I hope you got some tips out of how to either make your Thanksgiving prep go better or things not to do. I had a lot of issues today, but I really appreciate you spending your time with me. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. I try to do at least 2 videos a week. Most of them are about cooking or baking. Some are decorating or other things, but most cooking and baking. So consider subscribing, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks you guys.